Yep. Don't think anybody expected to see this much riding on the board for this driver. Today in this season preview for High Limit Racing in 2024, we are talking about Tanner Thorson, the 28-year-old driver of the number 88, which will be the car owned by Rod Gross Motorsports. The car chief on the 88 car will be Brenton Marvel, and the crew chief for a majority of the races will be Tanner Thorson himself, with Lee Lindgren coming in on a part-time basis to help spin the wrenches on the car. Now, the car, and a lot of people at the time of this recording don't really know much about the entire team with Tanner Thorson. He was honestly a huge surprise to be even on the High Limit Tour in the first place, and I was able to talk to him a little bit the other day and get a couple of details about what the team will look like. So it's going to be a Maxim chassis with a Don Ott power plant. So that's the car and engine combo there for that machine. The number 88, that is actually Tanner's number that he ran when he was in go-karts. When he first started racing, he was always the number 88. His midget is now the number 88, and so that's no surprise there. But Rod Gross, he actually was 5th in the 1978 National Open at Williams Grove, and he drove that famous number 461 with the Brickmobile, or whatever they called it. The 461, he was 5th in the 1978 National Open. So that's kind of a little bit of details, obviously not everything for this car. I know that he's going to be sponsored by Smith Titanium, no surprise there, Factory Cane, Maxima Race Oils, and he's going to have more people down the line when things get closer. So let's jump into it. Tanner Thorson, not much. When you really look at his entire career from 2015 to 2023, really not a ton of 410 sprint car experience. We know, as far as the wings go, we know how accomplished he is in the midgets. We know how accomplished he is even in the non-wing sprint car side of things as well. But when it comes to 410 stuff, there really isn't that much to look at, which is probably a surprise why there is so much on the board here, but we're going to try and give you a good picture of what we could expect for him. So from 2015 to 2023, with the World of Outlaws, so over a 9-year span, he has 38 appearances with the series and only 18 A-main events that he has actually made. 0 wins, 1 top 5, 4 top 10s, and he does have a lap led. Now, as far as the All-Stars go, in that same time period, 14 A-mains for 19 appearances, 0 wins, 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and 0 laps led. So between those two series, my math is absolutely horrible, so somewhere around 60 races that he actually had tried to make the show, and obviously in about half of them for the Outlaws, a little less than half, and a pretty good majority of them for the All-Stars, he did make the shows. Now, let's go to this little section here. So with the World of Outlaws, he actually has a best finish of 2nd place back at Silver Dollar Speedway during the Mini Gold Cup in 2015. And what's interesting about that run, that was actually his first ever winged 410 A-main event. He had ran 3 or 4 races right before that with the Outlaws in California, but had not made a show yet. This was the first time he'd ever even made a 410 A-main, and he ran 2nd to Donnie Schatz at the Mini Gold Cup. The very next night, he would go on to finish 8th at Antioch, and then also that race where he finished 2nd, that was the 3rd time he'd actually ever started an A-main at all in a winged sprint car. He had 2 starts prior to that in a 360, and then that was just his 3rd ever winged A-main start. And so that was his first ever winged 410 A-main, the one where he finished 2nd. Hopefully that made some sense there. Like I was saying, the next night after that 2nd place finish, he was 8th at Antioch. He was 6th at Placerville in 2018. Now, on the All-Star side of things, he is 3rd at Millstream Speedway in 2015, and he has a 4th place run at Atomic during Ohio Sprint Speed Week back in 2017. Now, a little bit more recently here, PA Speed Week in 2023, he had 5 starts, 4 top 10s, and 2 top 5s. Those 2 top 5s coming at Williams Grove and at BAPS. He also did have 1 high limit start last year, 2023. That was 18th at Lernerville in the AL Driveline number 58 car. Now, there are some wins with Tanner Thorson. Obviously, we know he's got a ton of wins in the midgets and the non-wings cars, but with the wing on top, he does have some wins. So in 2015, that first year that he got into 410 sprint car racing, he did get a local win at Lernerville. He has a Silver Dollar Speedway win that year as well in 2015. That was just his 6th ever start in a 410 sprint car, and he was able to get the win. 2018, he also got another win at Silver Dollar Speedway during the Tyler Wolf Memorial. He won the Johnny Key Classic and a prelim night at the Howard Kading Classic at Ocean Speedway in 2018. Those were 360 races, but still If you know California 360 sprint car racing, you know that it's a pretty big scene, and those are two pretty big races. So definitely a cool deal there. That was with the now defunct Civil War series. He also just last year, 2022, got an AFCS win at Attica. So he does have some wins, and they're kind of in random places, right? Like Lernerville, Attica, and then Silver Dollar, Ocean, kind of all over the place, right? So he does have some winning experience in a wing car. Now, right below that, the car owners. And that's kind of something with Tanner Thorson, whether it's in the wing car, whether it's in the midget. He has had a lot of car owners over the years. So let's just talk about a couple of them. And these car owners here that I have listed are just for the Outlaws, the All-Stars, PA Speed Week stuff, and that one high limit start. So he had a stint there, a pretty good stint with Clyde Lamar in the 3C, the Tri-C car. Rudzik Excavating 49X, he got a win in that car at the 2015 race in Lernerville. He ran quite a few races in the Premier Motorsports number 70. The Richie Rich in the Tin Pip number 88. That was the car he finished second with against the Outlaws at Silver Dollar Speedway. He did have a pretty long stint as well with Reinbold Underwood Motorsports, the 19 AZ. He ran a lot without the wing, but then there was that one year, I want to say it was 2022, when they tried to run a pretty sizable schedule with the Outlaws. Things did not pan out very well, and they did not finish that schedule that they had put forward. The final car on that list is I think it's called the LA Competition 58, that car owned by Aaron Long, the AL Driveline car. That's the car that he ran PA Speed League with, and the car he ran that high limit race at Lernerville with. So they were pretty successful. Like I said, 5 starts and 4 top 10 finishes. Now, as far as the strengths, weakness, and the prediction goes, well, actually, let me skip that. Let's go over to sprintcarratings.com. And Tanner Thorson did not have very many starts last year in 2023, so he actually did not make it onto their list. He didn't meet the requirements. But in 2022, he was the 68th best driver overall with 1 win. And as you can probably imagine, a lot of the drivers that are racing with high limit are going to be in front of him when you're 68th place. Obviously, he wasn't a full-time wing guy, but he did meet their requirements, and I figured I'd at least put that up there just to try and make all these videos somewhat the same. So back over to the strengths. In my opinion, I'm a good friend of Tanner Thorson. I used to race with him a lot, and I'm telling you, this guy gives 110% every single lap that he's out on the racetrack. It doesn't matter where he's running out on the racetrack, if he's winning or if he's running 13th. He is an absolute gasser. He works on his own stuff and meticulously combs over every single portion of his race car to make sure that it is in the proper shape to go out onto the racetrack. And I think he is determined to prove that he is not just a midget guy, right? He has not been able, and you see all these car owners here, he has not really had a stable ride when it comes to wing racing. And hopefully something like this Rod Gross Motorsports thing could hopefully turn into a long-term deal and get him somewhere, get him to where he wants to be as a prominent driver when it comes to Wing 410 racing. He is definitely determined to prove something, especially after that kind of rough year they had with the Reinbold 19 AZ on the Outlaw Tour. Well, they weren't on the tour, but they ran a lot of races, and none of them really came with much success. So he's definitely determined to prove something. And also, I think the California swing could be a good portion of the schedule for Tanner Thorson. As you can see over there, got a couple of wins at Silver Dollar Speedway, and obviously there's going to be 3 races with high limit at Silver Dollar next season. Now, the weakness department, it's just basic. It's just the 410 experience compared to the competitors that he will be racing against in 2024. He just doesn't have as much experience as those guys. Now, I did some research here. 105 starts over the last 9 seasons. That's 105 410 starts. We're not counting 360s or anything like that. But 105 410 wing races over the last 9 seasons equals out to 11 races a year. That's not very many starts. That's not very much time behind the wheel of one of these race cars. Obviously, a couple of years he's ran, 27 races and 18 races. A couple of years only ran 5, but that equals out to 11.6 starts a year, which is not very much in the grand scheme of things, over 9 whole seasons of racing. Now, also in the weakness department, he will not have a full-time crew chief with him. Lee Lindgren, if you know who that is, a very successful crew chief from out west. Him and Tanner have gotten a lot of these wins on this board together, and they've also won the Chili Bowl together. So they are a pretty good combination, but unfortunately, Lee has other commitments that he has to get to that will not allow him to be on the road all the time. So it'll be Tanner Thorson, Brenton Marvel, and another guy traveling up and down the road to every single race, and Tanner will be making most of the setup calls throughout the season. Now, as far as the prediction goes for him, I mean, I really want to be bullish. I want to be optimistic for this team, but it's going to be tough. I mean, it's a brand new team, obviously, and it's going to be a grind. I mean, Tanner Thorson has not ran, more than 30 races in one single season in a 410 wing car, and especially when it comes to the traveling side of things. And it's going to be tough for him. It's going to be really, really tough. But I think he does have the ability to sneak out a win, like I said, potentially in California. If he gets a good qualifying night and starts up front, he could stay up there. I think he could maybe pull off an upset win in California. I think he'll get between 5 to 8 top 5s and maybe 15 to 20 top 10s. I think that would be a really good year if they can make that happen and finish the entire season and then come back next year with a full notebook and try and maybe find a full-time crew chief and make things happen for 2025, and who knows, maybe compete for one of those charter positions next season. I think he's going to be somewhere between 12th and 14th in points. Just looking at the names that are racing with High Limit, there's a lot of guys that have so much success and so much experience compared to Tanner that I think that is where he's going to finish up in the point standings. And like I said, I'm a good fan of Tanner's. He's probably watching this video, Tanner. I hope he does better than 12th to 14th, but I'm just trying to be realistic, right? So that's where I think he's going to end up. I do think he's a good get for High Limit because I feel like he's kind of a fan favorite, right? I mean, he won the Chili Bowl. He's got a lot of followers on Facebook and stuff like that for his racing pages, and he's just an overall gasser. Like he's a very exciting driver out on the racetrack, and very gracious with the fans and everything like that as well. So definitely a good get, and obviously a big surprise as well to have him on the tour. So yeah, that's all I've kind of got here for Tanner Thorson, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Obviously, not quite as much of a sample size to look at with him compared to the other drivers that we've looked at, but hopefully this did something for you and you learned maybe something new about Tanner Thorson. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think he's going to do next year as far as maybe he gets a couple more wins, maybe he finishes higher in the point standings. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. We'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow.